All righty. AI. Welcome Saturday morning Podcasters Live Academy. Welcome Saturday morning crew. Hope you guys are doing well. Excited to talk to you today about this topic. Excited to have some just a good conversation about podcasting and AI. It is out there in the ethos. There are a lot of people that are utilizing it. There are some people who are kind of afraid of it. I won't say afraid, they're probably apprehensive. They may not know how to use it. They may not be sure of what they need to do to maximize AI for their podcast. They also want to make sure that the content that they put out for their podcast continues and remains authentic. So, we're going to be talking about that today, the impact that AI is having on the future of podcasting. Be right back. Alrighty, so here's the topic. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about AI and podcasting. One of the things that I really want to know today um, is are you currently using AI in your podcasting? Right? There you go. Are you using AI in your podcasting? Just let me know that as we kind of go through today. I'm interested in hearing some people's perspective, on that, and want to know a little bit more about how you are doing. So I have a couple more questions, but as you start to think about your current podcasting, the live streaming workflow, what are you doing? Are you utilizing it? Are you nervous about it? Some of those things. All right. So once again, we're gonna be talking about that today. Well, those of you who know me, I like to kind of set a foundation and everything that we talk about, and then build upon that. I know some of you are like, okay, I already know what AI is, but some people don't. Some people will have an idea. They think Terminator, they think, what was it? What was it? What was the name of the company in Terminator? I can't remember the name of the company. Not Netscape. That's an old IP. That's an old internet platform. What was the name of that? What was the name of the actual AI that was supposed to take over? If you guys know that, those of you who are alive and those of you who are in the chat later, let me know. I can't remember the name. It is going to come to me as we kind of go throughout the course of the day. So I'm just kind of thinking about that. So AI it's just a form of computer technology. It learns from data, right? Enabling it to make decisions and solve problems. AI has made its way into many aspects of our lives, including smartphones, personal assistants, right, such as Siri, Alexa, self-driving, all these different things. So here's the thing: AI has been here already. So that I wanted to. That's why I wanted to kind of set the foundation a little bit to kind of let people know it's already been here, right? We've already been using AI for our playlist. Hey Siri, play so and so. Hope she doesn't start playing. I'm sorry. I got a little. See there. See there she goes. So as soon as I called her name, right there, so that's AI right there. Think about it. It's already been part of our lives. So understanding that aspect first and foremost, so we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't have this fear. We should try to embrace it and figure out how we're going to utilize it to maximize what it is that we are what it is that we are doing, whether it's podcasting, live streaming, or some other aspects of our lives too. Once again, I want to know, are you utilizing AI currently in your podcast, your live stream? So if you just joined us, let me know. I want to know that in the chats, and just say hi. Let me know where you guys are coming from or whatever too. So I'd appreciate that. All right. So so that's what's AI. Actually, that's the wrong one. There you go. Let's do this one. Let's talk about some stats real quick. So this one is interesting. This one is interesting because we're gonna get to some of the benefits of AI, but I want you guys to see some of this stuff here too. There's going to be 97 million new roles will be created. New roles will be created by AI by the year 2025. As humans, machines, and algorithms increasingly work together, AI-driven podcasting already has reaches 45 million Americans. AI-powered podcasts have grown 500% in the last year. AI can reduce costs of podcasting by up to 50% while increasing overall engagement and listener satisfaction. AI enabled podcasting. Look at this right here. Look at this number. Look at this number right here. Oh my goodness. Podcast AI podcasting will be a $3 billion industry. $3 billion industry. AI enabled podcasting. That lets me know right now. That lets me know right now. If you are not thinking about utilizing AI within your podcast at the very base level, at the very base level um, of helping you kind of create content, you are going to miss the boat, right? But if you are going to be like myself and probably some other people out here who are going to embrace this perspective of AI podcasting, then you need to go ahead and continue to listen to what it is that we're going to be talking about today as well too. So anyway, I just want to go to the comments real quick. And oh, there we go. Last one here. Uh, where's the last one? I want to make sure I don't have that one connected. Um, what's going on, Liberty? How are you doing? Good to see you here. Good to see you. Let me know if you have any questions. But you're a seasoned vet with all of this stuff. You are a seasoned vet with all of this stuff. What's going on, Renita? How are you doing? Good to see you here. Yes, I use AI to clean up my podcast audio. Absolutely, absolutely saves hours of time. What do you use Do you use Descript? Do you use Phonics mastering? What else? What do you utilize to clean up your audio? I would like to know, and then I know people in the audience want to know that as well too. While there will be job losses, there will also be new opportunities, as the data states. 100%, 100%. I always feel things go in ways, right? Things go. I always go back to the. I'm an old hip hop head. I go back to the Q-Tip song where he's talking about, Dad always said things go in cycles, like Bobby Brown just mimicking Michael. So apologize for that little ditty that just came to my head, right? But that's it. It goes in cycles. It goes in cycles, and so you have to understand where you are within that cycle and how you need to adapt to your thought process and also your adoption. Because if you don't adopt this stuff, you're gonna get left behind. And I don't want anybody in this community. I don't want anybody in this community to be left behind as well too. So we just talked about the stats there. So there we go. What are your thoughts about these stats? This is crazy. So it says 97 million new roles, right? One of the things that um, I was talking and working with and talking to Cher about, um, we were just talking about how to utilize this for our businesses and for the things that we currently do. And we've come up with a whole bunch of different ideas. I probably won't share some of that stuff now, but we have a whole bunch of different ideas of how we're going to utilize AI, but more importantly, to be able to teach this stuff to other people right now. If we don't do that now, then we're gonna be lost once again. All right, so $3 billion. I get stuck on this slide because I am blown away by these stats that I was just kind of gathering over the last week or so when I knew I was going to be doing this. Just ridiculous. $3 billion industry, right? Okay, we got to do something with that. All right. What is AI in podcasting? Podcasting and artificial intelligence refers to the use of computer algorithms and machine learning techniques to automate certain tasks or processes related to creating, distributing, and analyzing your podcast. So just like Renita was talking about, she uses AI to help with um, cleaning up her podcast, and I'm glad she actually was able to kind of come back in here and say what she uses, which is, yeah, Descript is the truth. Descript audio feature. I use Alphonics, so I am a massive Alphonics fan. Um, my podcast or my podcasting DAW of choice is Hindenburg Pro, and it allows me to have really good audio, right? Really good audio. Um, but I don't know. I always like, I think audio, especially with, because I am an audio first podcaster in my thought process. I just am. And I've, of course, as you can tell, I have embraced video and live streaming, but I'm an audio first guy. Just This is just Steve. So I feel like the audio piece for any podcast that I release has to be like Stella, right? Production value. I don't have a team. I have like two or three people that work with me on my stuff. Well, I guess I don't have like a massive team, but I have two or three people that work with me from a production standpoint. But the audio piece, I can actually help control a lot of that up front before it even gets to the production team. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. All righty. If you Let me see, where is it at? Where you go? Before we move further, thank you for everybody who's listening in on LinkedIn. We have a really good community, podcasters live, really good content that's taking place over there on LinkedIn. Our podcasters live Facebook group is solid and growing. A lot of people are contributing, and that's the one thing I love about our Facebook group, because it's contributing. You can also connect with us over at YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that you can be a part of any and everything that we actually have going on. All right, cool beans. Once again, if you just joining us, I want to know how are you utilizing AI? If you are utilizing AI to help you with your actual podcast. So we talked about podcasting and AI. So we're going to talk about four ways to use AI in your podcasting. And here's the thing. I got. Do you guys have your coffee? It's early. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, so I'm hoping that you guys got your coffee, your bagel, or your biscuit, or if you're over in the UK, or you got tea over in the UK. I got my coffee, so I I like Saturday mornings because I can just kind of let my hair down, so to speak. So hopefully you have your cup of coffee with you, and you are just enjoying this. I wanted to like kind of wet my whistle before we get into this. Four ways. Here's the one thing. And I didn't put a slide up for this. I didn't put a slide up for this. Um, and I probably should have. But I guess I could talk about it when I talk about the very first one. So the very first one is to personalize content generation. Personalization of content is one way, um, is one of the main advantages of AI. AI can be used to generate personalized content for each individual listener. Love that. Love that. AI algorithms can detect the type of content that each user prefers, making it easier for podcasts to tailor the content. So when we start to think, and when we start, you make it. All right. Liberty says she's making some tea. All right. Okay. I'm not gonna hold the tea against you. I'm not gonna hold the tea against you. I'm not. I'm a tea fan. I'm a tea fan. We got we got one more. That's a lot of here that has to come. Who's that in the comments? I'm gonna jack somebody up. I'm gonna really go jack somebody up. Lim, what's going on, man? What's going? Good to see you, dude. Good to truly see you here, man. That's a lot of hair to come down, dude. Okay, so here's the one thing that I want to make sure people understand about AI before we move any further, right? AI is, and we're gonna utilize Chat GPT here in a second too, because I want to show some people some stuff. Here's the one thing. AI is really just the start of whatever you need to be doing for your content, right? It will help you generate ideas, personalized content, and everything else that we're going to be talking about. But here's the one thing that AI doesn't have that you have as a content creator, podcaster, whatever it is a soul, right? You have a soul. You have your content has to have soul, right? Once again, I'm thinking about Eric B. Rakim. You know, I got soul. You have a soul. Your content has your soul. When you are presenting your content, you are presenting it as a byproduct of who you are. So when we start to think about AI, we need to think about it as a tool. It is not going to be something that is going to replace. I remember I'm a old school retailer, and I remember when I started back in the day, there were no what they used to call little zebras. That's when you go in the store now. Every associate has one, or now they utilize their phone to check in stocks. I remember back in the day, we had to go to the back and check, right? And we're like, okay, oh my gosh, we got to go to the back. Nowadays, right? When I remember when we first got those new Palm Pilots, we called them Palm Pilots back then, and then we got the zebras, right? That revolutionized everything. Everybody thought that this was going to that it was going to reduce retail jobs, right? When they got the zebra, it all it did was it made your life a lot easier. So, but you still had to engage with that customer. It's the same thing when you start to think about AI as it relates to content generation. It's a great starting point, but it doesn't have a soul. So when you present this, you need to present it in the context of who you are. And when you do it that way, guess what? It creates points of differentiation between you and somebody else. Because if you have used AI properly, you have been able to distill better content and better ideation with whatever it is that you want to present. So guess what? If you have better ideation and and it fits who you are, guess what? Now you are presenting something that is better vetted, is more vetted than something that another person has. So sorry about that little rant, but it's so true, and I don't want people to miss that aspect that they think AI is going to change everything, and it is not. It is here to actually enhance what you already currently do. So please understand that. Hey, here's the thing: if you think differently, if you have a different perspective, I am completely open for you to be like, nah, Steve, no, no, no. I completely see this differently. I don't think I think AI is this or I think AI is that. For podcasting, please go ahead and do that. Please go ahead and ask me or let me know. All right, because I do have a question. I do have another question. I do have another question. So, as I continue to go down this route, I want to know what are one or two pitfalls with using AI, right? You can start to, kind of think about that right now. You don't have to answer that question, but you can start to think about one or two pitfalls, with using AI for your podcast, right? So number 2. So I just said this. I just kind of said this a little bit too. Top level research. Using AI in your podcast research can be really helpful and save you a whole lot of time of digging time. So how many of you um how can I think how can I'm thinking about a story that I was just thinking about. Um when I was in grad school, and we had to do all these different research papers, right? All of these, man, I spent I don't know how much time on the web just searching stories. We this one class we were talking about mobilization, of a new company over into China. And I actually ended up working with the company to actually end up doing that, which was pretty awesome. But I had to research all these different processes and routines, all these different things to actually, finally kind of come up with some semblance of a outline for the paper. Once I had the outline, then I had to go back and actually get all the data points to actually validate all my outline points. So we start to think about this would have saved me, dude. I could have done all of this stuff in a day. I could have went to the library, or even at home and just like did chat GPT. Hey, outline for me 10 steps that I need to follow for mobilization of a new company over in China. Boom. Okay, well what are three aspects that as a leader that I need to learn how to lead differently over in China? Boom. Right? All these different things would have probably just been the start, but at least I would have been able to actually have a really good starting point and been able to generate different ideas. The last parts is when you ask a bot a question, the algorithm searches through thousands of online sources to pull out information and present it in a coherent way. He- Here's the one thing, and this is a old school mindset, but it's the truth when it comes to computing. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So whatever it is that you put into your chat GPT or whatever AI that you utilize from a AI perspective, you're going to get out whatever it is that you put in, right? So if you ask it a very soft question, right, you're going to probably get a very soft answer. You're not going to get something that has any teeth to it, right? So you have to think about um, the end result of what you want to say, or what you want the results to kind of give you, because you actually have an agenda of something is that you actually want to do. So when you start to think about top level research, it will give you some really great pieces, but you have to make sure that whatever it is that you're actually putting in there is something that is going to resonate not just with you, but also with your audience as well. All right. Let me know if you're tracking with me. If you're tracking with me, please go ahead and let me know this. I appreciate you. Say, just put hashtag tracking. I'm with you. If you're drinking, a cup of tea like Liberty, I'm not gonna hold that against you, because Liberty, we're in America. I know you're, we drink coffee here, so I'm just messing with you. I actually do drink tea. I do drink tea. I drink it actually, crazily enough, in the evening, and when I'm working in the evening. So I actually do drink tea. So I'm not an anti tea person. All right, guest ideation, idea generation. This is the third point. This is the third point. After you have chosen a guest in just interview format for your podcast, a tool to look at is ChatGPT can really help with coming up with ideas. First of all, it can help you brainstorm some ideas for podcast guests to invite onto your show. So if you have a a a specific niche, right, for your podcast, or focus, if you will, for your podcast, when you are first starting out, this is just for almost any podcaster, and I try to strongly um recommend that they don't do that. All of our podcasters live clients, but when you first starting out, you just interview anybody, right? If they breathing, and they're willing to come on your show, dude, you are you are they you are getting them on your show, right? And so I've done it. I have had probably the most um kind of like counterproductive, some of the most counterproductive guests starting out at the very beginning, just because I wanted to actually, get people on. I remember when in 2007, when we started podcasting, Jerry and we had this guy on. I remember it was like one of our first guests, and then we realized, like, dude, we had to change up our perspective. We had this guy on who, honestly, what he sort of had um, was this concept around marriage and dating that initially, when we first spoke to him, we thought we were in alignment with, and we weren't. And when he started talking to us on the show, we were both like, dude, this dude, he just changed up everything. He is completely talking about something that we're not even like, um, that doesn't fit our belief system. And so we had to kind of like work through that. Anyway, I just said that to say is that you will get people on your show, or you will try initially when you first starting out to have some people on your show that you probably really shouldn't. So if you have a really good niche, this will AI can help you with your ideation around trying to get guests that are actually um, going to be beneficial, right? And here's the other thing too: the guests should be beneficial not just to you, not just for you. They should be beneficial for your audience, right? The one thing that I'm going to go on a tangent here for a second, just with guests, right? If you're a host, and I'm actually going to do an episode, a podcast episode on this around guesting and hosting. The one thing I can't stand around with hosts, certain hosts, is that when they just dominate the conversation and you have a brain trust person there on your show to provide their information to the audience. That is just one of my pet peeves. It just really is. Like if I'm going to bring you on a show, my job is to help you shine. My job is to make sure that um, your expertise is actually adding value to the audience. Um, and I've seen just tons of shows where it's very self-serving. And so when we start to think about generating ideas for your guests, you should the ideas should just be that, and then they should actually fall in line with what you want your audience to learn, you know, and it fits who you are and what you stand for and your value systems and all of that. So apologize for the little change. Now, actually, I don't apologize for that because somebody out there needed to hear that, whether it's live or on a replay, right? When you got a guest on, it's not about you, it's about them. So make sure you focus in on them and that you're driving everything um, kind of through them. If you disagree with that, let me know. I want to know. I really want to know. I really want to know. All right. Before we move to four, I did have a big announcement. Big announcement. Big announcement. All right. We are finally, let me turn this music down a little bit. We are finally launching our our program, and it is a twofold program. It is a program for for one-on-one coaching, but it's also going to be a course, and it is from concept to creation, creating your first podcast season. And here's why we focused in on it this way. It's because once again, I've been podcasting for a while, and one thing that I know and I've seen is that typically when people start a podcast, right? Everybody who has been podcasting understands the concept of pod fade, where people typically bail on their podcast after episode 7 to 8 to 9 or something along those lines. The rationale and what I've seen is that they have mismanaged expectations around what a podcast is and what they're getting themselves into. My goal with this concept to creation is to help people move past already that number 7 episode, which has kind of been the number, the magic number, if you will, where people will stop. If you have been able to create a 12 episode podcast season, you are already well ahead of everybody. You are already well ahead of whatever it is that you are trying to get accomplished with your podcast. And so that's why we have created the coaching program, but also the course that we're going to be launching here in a couple of weeks, is to help you focus in on creating a complete season, a complete 12 episode season for your podcast. That means production, that means recording, that means show format, structure, all of those different aspects that you are going to need to help you get from concept to creation. The concept part is probably some of the hardest part, is figuring out who it is that I need to be speaking to, the problem that I need to be solving. We help you generate ideas, but more importantly, we try our best to help you understand your audience and who you are, because once again, who you are is in your podcast is nothing but a byproduct of who you are. So understanding that first will help you have a much better podcast. We don't want you to be anybody else. We want you to be yourself. We want your podcast to be you, because as we always say, your podcast is yours. It is no one else's. You don't need clearance for anybody else to do your podcast. You don't need Netflix, NBC, HBO, anybody to greenlight your podcast idea. You do the greenlighting, and we help you take that concept to creation so that you can create a full season for your podcast and also for your live stream. If you're interested, whether you're looking at this now or you're looking at this in the replay, we got the QR code, and you'll see it kind of throughout this program. That will actually take you to a landing page where you can sign up and we can contact you and we can move forward from there. We're super excited about that. All right. So number four. Let me know if you guys getting anything out of this. You guys still listening or you guys fell asleep because after you ate breakfast, you guys are probably falling back asleep. That's okay. That's okay. We got a few people who are awake out here. And number four, create podcast show notes in a matter of seconds, period. These show notes would be extremely generic and lack the human touch that makes a podcast worth listening to. But you can use them as a first draft, which you can then edit and put your own spin on them. So I completely agree with this. I completely agree. Now, all the copywriters out there will probably, copywriters are probably the first ones that really probably maybe not a fan of Chat GPT or any of the AI functions. I understand that, and I understand that, and I get it. And I get it. But here's the thing: is that anything that's going to help you save some time. I'll use myself as an example. Right, I hate creating show notes. Right, I used to edit my own podcast. I don't do that anymore. I am, I am, I am strictly, so to speak, the talent. Right, my job is to create the outline, um, structure it in my voice, and I go into my little podcast audio first studio and I create it. Um, as I'm doing the audio, I'm giving pieces and tips for the person that's going to be editing it. Hey, move this here. Hey, say this here. We've developed a great working a workflow, relative to that. And then once I'm finished, I upload it, put it in the Google Doc, bada bing, bada boom, done. Right? They edit it the way that I want. My VA, then she does all the show notes for the podcast, and then she uploads the podcast in accordance with our schedule, and then the show notes, yada yada yada. If I'm adding something new, or say like a mid roll to the podcast, and it requires a link, then I say, hey, I need you to add this link to all of my episodes because I'm adding a mid roll or something like that. That's a call to action for people. So understanding how to utilize and generate show notes with your with AI is something that more and more people are going to be doing because it's going to help save time. But as it says up here, there is no human contact or connection or human touch. Once again, sorry. I stated this earlier. GPT, all these different AI places, they don't have a soul. You do. Your content should have a soul. It should have your soul. The way that you communicate everything is exactly what you should be doing. Right? All right. So that was 4. However, I got a couple bonus. I got a couple bonus things for you too. So this is another way of utilizing AI. So if we go back to which one was it? It was the stats. I'm gonna go through. So if we go back here to the stat one, and it spoke about the number of jobs that was going to be created. Oh, excuse me, AI. It was the last one. AI enabled podcasting will be a $3 billion industry. So if we go back to here, Voice recognition, AI powered voice recognition technology can be used to detect emotions, accents, and even parts of conversation. Da, 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 da. AI can also be used to detect when certain words are being spoken, allowing podcasters to quickly and easily search through their specific recording. Man, could you just imagine if you want to, like Renita says, she uses Descript, and I don't know if Descript has like a search. I've used it. I haven't used it in a while. I wonder if it has like a search, um, like a search piece for Nita, and you let me know if it does or not, where you can search like a certain term, a word, or topic, and be able to take you right to that topic or to that word. Right? I'm thinking about it in in the context of utilizing it here, when you are a podcaster and you want to create a clip. You're If you are like me, anytime I interview somebody, I'm old school. I always have a piece of paper and a pen right here next to me. All that's always. Because if somebody says something super dope, I am gonna like put it right here, and I'm gonna be like, "Yo, hold on for a second. Liberty, you said da 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 da. Like, can we go a little deeper on that?" And or they say something really amazing, and I may break down a timestamp for when they've actually said it. So that's one way I do it, but that's old school. But if you don't want to have paper here, you just want to go through the interview process or just go through um the podcast. But you remember you said something really dope. Can you go in and actually um search it out and then actually create whether audio clip or actually pull that out if it's a video, because you can do video with the script and be able to pull that section out for a reel or a short or something along those lines. This is what AI is talking about being able to do, for you, and also for the content that you have now and in the future. So if you are not thinking about how to use AI to create shortcuts within your workflow, then I'm not particularly sure. Um, Man, you need to. I just think you need to figure out a way to do it. It is not going to be something. AI is not going to be something. It's not going to be something that I think you as a um as a as a podcaster, right? Here's the one thing. Everybody and their mama thought Clubhouse was going to kill podcasting. How many of you guys remember that? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand in the audience. How many of you remember everybody? Oh my gosh. I can't it got so annoying. Everybody and their mama just thought um Clubhouse was going to kill podcasting. Clubhouse is going to kill podcasting. Twitter Spaces is going to kill podcasting. All these things, right? Podcasting is not going anywhere. Audio podcasting is still not going anywhere. As much as we want to utilize the technology, and we love the technology, we have to understand that it is just a tool for us to use. It's just a tool for us to use. So it's not going to kill podcasting. It is not going to um um how can I say it? It's not going to destroy the authenticity or the essence of what podcasting is. And I firmly believe, I am of the opinion, I am of the opinion that podcasting is a craft, first and foremost, right? It is a craft. It is not something that a lot of people should take lightly getting themselves into, because there is a lot of work. However, what I see in the future, I always ask my guests this, like a prediction. Whenever they're on whenever they're on the show, I ask them to give me a prediction for the year and this year and maybe the year that's coming up. I My prediction around AI is that people are going to overutilize, I think initially, Chat GPT, and they're going to overutilize it in the context that they are not going to humanize the content that it spits out. And some people are going to feel like this is good enough. But I think over time, people are going to be able to decipher what is authentically you and what is not. So, having said that, it's important that you try your best to utilize this as a starter, as a Kickstarter for your ideas, for your thoughts, um, uh, for your concepts, for your guests, and all of that stuff. Because if you don't, then you will be lost. But make sure that it doesn't overtake who you are and the content that you're trying to put out there as well. All right. All right. Benita had one last comment. Not one last comment, but a comment. I didn't find it at all. They're user friendly. Oh, okay. So I literally only used the script on the. Oh, cause okay, I got you. I got you. So you only utilize it for the audio enhancement piece. Cool. Um, I know the video. My buddy Walter, he utilizes it from a video standpoint. Let me make sure. See what, he utilizes it from a video standpoint, as well. So I think we have to understand, um, from a descript standpoint, right? I think it does have a feature where you can possibly where you can do something like that or whatever too. I'm not particularly sure, but we'll see. What's going on, Matt? How are you doing, buddy? How are you doing? Dude? How are you using AI within your? If you're, are you using AI in your shows, your live streams, any of the content that you produce? I would love to know. I think the audience would love to know, Matt, because you pretty much go live every morning, um, Monday through Friday, if I'm not mistaken, right? And just want to know if you are if you utilize AI to help you with your show or not. Just let me know. We got two more pieces that I want to do, and voice recognition, two more bonus pieces. Interactive podcasting. Interactive podcasting is becoming more popular, allowing listeners to engage in conversations with AI powered bots. Okay, I had to bring this up here because it was part of my research. AI can be used to recognize dialogue and respond accordingly, thus creating an interactive experience. Okay, now this is probably the one part. This is probably the one part. Let me give you let me foundationally talk about why this piece is up here. Um and I think why people are talking about it is because one of the biggest issues that podcasters face is engagement with their audience. Audio, I'm going to say audio podcasters only first, right? Because if one, a lot of them don't have a website that they can send people to connect with. Two, only about 2 to 3% of your actual listeners ever do something. I think that's on podcasting. I want to say that's probably in live streaming too. There's a lot of people that listen to your stuff that won't do anything, meaning that they won't engage with you. And so what this is trying to do from a podcasting interactive standpoint is try to create a system in context of you or the bot connecting with people in your audience, and giving it the ability for you to have a conversation, but it's not really you having a conversation. It's the bot that's having a conversation with your audience, right? How many of you have dealt with a chat bot and had a really good experience before? I think I had one really good experience. I can't remember the company, but it was actually really good. But actually, I think the problem was very simple for them to solve. So that's probably what made it very simple. If it's something complex that requires a human touch, a human perspective, then it becomes a little harder to get a genuine answer that's going to move me forward or move that person forward. But having said that, this is this is a real thing, right? This interactive podcasting. It is something that a lot of people need to understand that it's out there, and it is actually. I was listening to James Critlin on Pod News. He's the editor of Pod News. I've had him on my show twice. Amazing guy, amazing guy. Um, I he did one of episodes. He actually used a bot to create the entire podcast episode, the entire podcast episode. And here's the thing: what it did was that it mimicked his voice, right? But you can 100% tell that, of course, that it was a bot. I am and he didn't endorse it. He was just utilizing the technology, saying this is what's out there, right? There are going to be some people who have truly still never listened to a podcast, and some people may utilize this AI technology to create a actual AI podcast, right? And put it out there in the ethos, and some people may listen to it and not really have a an understanding that this is a bot. So it's here, right? The other thing that you have to understand too about podcasting, especially here in America, we are so we are so US centric with our podcasting. Super US centric, right? Once again, James Critlin's on my show, right? Everybody in America, almost everybody in America, the majority of Americans, right? Probably about I think it's about 70% of Americans, maybe a little higher, have Apple phones. The other 30% are Androids. Guess what? Guess what? In the world, that is flip flopped. It's only about 30%. I'm talking about everywhere else, except for probably Canada. Everywhere else, um, in if you guys, the Canadians in the audience, you guys can let me know if I'm wrong, right or wrong. But everywhere else in the world, I know this is that it's Android first, Apple second. Apple second. So when you start to think about as you grow your podcast, or you're thinking about growing your podcast, you have to think about it in the context of not just an American standards, but also an international standards and the data associated with it. This is the critical piece when you start to think about growing your podcast. It's the data. It is not just the content, but if you're trying to grow internationally, it's the data. The international people have completely different data systems or data storage systems than we do. 100% different. And so when you start to think about the capacity of them being able to download a 35-minute podcast, it's not there. They're not doing it. They want something that's really quick and super quick to consume. So we have to kind of rethink. And this is why the AI podcasting piece is actually going to start to proliferate the market, is because if I can create an AI podcast around retail leadership with Steve Worthy and have it spit out something that's kind of sort of sounds like me, nobody sounds like me, but if I can have it spit something that sounds like me, and I can teach retail leadership over in Honduras, over in Bali, over in the UK, whatever it is, right? Philippines, and and have that data be very um, minimal, and non-evasive into your overall data, to your overall storage or your data platform. Guess what? People are going to start to do it. So apologize. I get on these tangents, man, because I'm passionate about this stuff, and I want people to get it, and I want them to understand that if you really want to get after this podcasting thing, you have to um, you have to figure these things out. Yes, I'm gonna put this last thing up. Um, Wait, data storage is different. Um, it's all database, and those are the same everywhere. I don't follow the point. So what I'm saying from a phone standpoint, when you are when you're using your phone overseas, the data is the data storage aspects are completely different. th- I've done the research. I guess I could be wrong, But from what I have learned is that, especially over the Philippines, I do a lot of stuff over the Philippines, work with a lot of people in the Philippines, how they utilize their data on their phones, or the way that they pay for their data from a storage standpoint, and what they put on their phones is completely different than how we utilize our data on our phones. And the amount of data that they actually have on their phones are is different than what we have over here in the states. Now, not saying that they can't purchase or have some, similar data, storage amounts, if you will, but when you start to think about how they live their life and what they do over, I'm just utilizing the Philippines, if you will, in that perspective, is a little bit different than how we actually utilize our data points or our data storage over here in the states. So when Matt, you said something here. I basically don't use AI. I'm here to learn practical techniques. Yeah, live Monday through Friday, man. Yeah, dude, you've been super consistent, dude. Super consistent for such a long time, man. Such a long time. I'm waiting until AI becomes self-aware. So, okay, Matt, you know the answer to this. You weren't here at the beginning, but I've asked somebody what was the name of the system, something net, Star Net, or whatever it was, for Terminator, that was going to take over. I can't remember. Skynet, right? I think it was Skynet that was actually going to take over the system, right? So there you go. I learned from Tweet podcast that there's an AI radio host. Yes, yes, product being 100%, 100%. I learned that a few weeks ago, and here's the one thing. Skynet. There you go. Here's the one thing, man. Um, I just did a I just did a podcast live stream with all the guests were from the UK. And the one thing that we talked about, I think you were on there, Matt. I think you said something about Doctor Who, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. Right. And we started to talk about the whole radio piece over in the UK as it compares to here in the States is completely different. Um, I think it kind of started out the same, but I think they have continued the legacy of radio, where we have switched to, we still have radio, AM and FM, but I think we have switched, of course, more to satellite radio and different things like that. But their protocol and their perspective on utilizing radio still to this day is massively different. But once again, I was listening to podcasts, excuse me, Pod News, and they actually played a clip of the host. There's another one. It was a DJ. So I don't know if it's the same one that you may be talking about, but he was a radio DJ, and man, he sounded super um, computerized, right? It didn't have any feeling or anything like that, too. So understand that there are pieces. Um, there's going to be people that are creating stuff that initially it doesn't sound right initially. I was just looking at this thing last night, and it was about MVPs, and I don't mean most valuable players. It talked about um, uh, minimum viable products, right? And how you had this, and once again, I can't remember the terms that they used, but what they did was actually had this continuum, if you will, of ideas. And what they basically stated was that the founder, who's super smart and just starts, right, and then iterates over time, is usually typically gets it right. The person, and he talked about the idiot, the person that just doesn't have a clue and gets started and iterates over time. Actually, both of these guys end up winning. But the person that's up here in the middle, that's taking all the time and trying to um, get all these surveys and get all this information, and it could take 6, 7, months, 8, a year, 2 years, right? Sometimes they will win, but more often than not, the goal is to get products out there and then iterate over time. I said that to say, so when I think about this legacy radio station with AI, I think that's what they're doing. They are just getting the information out there. They're getting the product out there, and then they're going to iterate over time. So same thing when you start to think about what you're doing with your podcast or your live stream. If you are thinking about it, the goal is for you to get it out there. I say this all the time. Let me move this thing back. Um, I say this all the time. There is somebody out there waiting for you to get your podcast started. Today, I wanted to present this whole concept and ideas around AI just to let you give you a feel for what's out here in the marketplace. I want to keep the community and everybody that's listening, I want to keep you up to date on these concepts and ideas around podcasting. Because if you don't know, guess what? You're gonna get lost, right? I think I want to do another podcast episode. It just came to me about this idea and concept called value for value, where people are and it's I won't say it's old, but a lot of people still don't know about it. And it's just the ability for you to um, give value from a Satoshi's, which is a percentage of Bitcoin, to your podcast host. If you really like their content, there's a way for you to, and you're getting value from their content, there's a way for you to give them value. And that is what they call value for value. And it shows up in a lot of different podcast players, and more importantly, it's almost there's a measure of exclusivity associated with it that a lot of regular day podcasters are not actually, they don't actually know about it, and therefore they can't embrace it. So same thing with AI. The goal for me is to introduce this so that you can know about it, and then hopefully over time you can learn how to embrace it as well too. So we got a couple of real quick here. So sharing those goals. Get out there, get her done, get her done. That's 100% true. 100% true. 100% true. And then Matt has a question. Do you have thoughts about YouTube's new podcast content type? Yeah, I got a whole bunch of thoughts. Yeah. You know what? Same thing. They got it out there, right? I think over time they're going to iterate, and it's hopefully um they're going to listen to the users, around it. Um, I think part of it for them, they've been saying it for so long that they were doing it. I think they got tired of everybody just kind of waiting, and got tired of all the pronouncements, and so they just said, "Okay, I'm going to put it out there." And so they did. They put it out there. Um, I am actually going to do an episode, and I am actually going to live just go ahead and start uploading some stuff. Um, you know, on there. I haven't uploaded it yet. I have been looking, um, I've been researching, and I have made sure that when we start to put stuff up there, we want to do it, the right way, and we want to have the right content, and just start putting content up there as well too. So but we have other areas that we are focused in on. And YouTube is definitely going to be, one of the biggest areas, for podcasts, right? It's number one from a when people ask where do you listen to podcasts at, the number one place isn't Apple anymore, it's YouTube, right? Because the definition of podcasting has morphed over time. And so that's why people say YouTube, because people will go on YouTube. And I think the platform is going to give value to people. I think it's going to help a lot of people who have already embraced video, and now they can actually just go ahead and start to upload, kind of their video podcast up there as well too. And then Cher has a statement. Uh-oh. Um, you'll get lost or scared if you oh there yep. Um, if you don't study what's happening, you have to learn how to create and integrate with the technology that is available to us. it's there for the taking. 100%. 100%. 100%. I think just like I'll go back to the um clubhouse clubhouse thing where everybody thought that Clubhouse was going to smoke podcasting, and it just didn't. And it just didn't. It just didn't. Right? Podcasting is an institution. It has been around, I think, since 2004, right? The actual term and everything since 2004. We started in 2007, and we've been loving the medium ever since. Audio podcasting isn't going anywhere. I don't care what people say. I don't care what people say. I firmly don't care. Audio podcasting is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. Do you have to add an element of live stream and video to your podcast? If you don't want to, then don't, right? But if you want to, I think, have a different measure of success, and um, you know, authority, if you will, I think you should have some measure of a video podcast and live stream to connect with your audience at a different level, on a different level, um, and then also be able to present ideas and concepts to them that you probably can't, or maybe don't have time to, when you actually do utilize your live stream, your podcast. Because in your podcast, it's a very fixed period of time that you have probably already dedicated for your construction of your podcast to actually get out there. In a live stream just like this, you can connect with your audience and actually be able to answer some of their questions, and then be like, oh, that's a really good idea. Maybe utilize that idea or concept for your podcast. Um, this is from what little I know. They have changed what a podcast actually is. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. There is no RSS feed on YouTube. 100% RSS used to be the main podcast, not anymore. Now it's just an audio or video show. Am I right? You listen to me. Well, here's the thing, Matt. Here's the thing. And when I started podcasting, I was not concerned about the RSS feed, right? We learned about the RSS feed, and we utilized the RSS feed to distribute the podcast. But as I think about it, we weren't we didn't construct the show for the RSS feed. We continue to construct the show for our audience, right? So we have our definition of a podcast is a produced conversation, right? While we understand, even though I'm an audio first person, I still feel that a podcast is a produced conversation. What the RSS feed does, and what the argument has always been, is around the distribution method of that produced conversation, right? Because that's all what an RSS feed does. It's a distribution method for a file. On that file is a produced conversation, right? It's almost like when I was teaching my team the five whys, right? You know, why are customers showing up? Well, because our prices are too high. Why do you think our price is too high? Well, because supply chain is jacked up. Well, why do you think the supply chain is jacked up? Da, da, da. Right. So you can do the five whys. And I think the same thing when I think about the whole RSS feed or what a podcast is. If you winnow it down and strip it away, it is a produced conversation. And now these produced conversations are happening on live streams, and they're happening on videos. And so, to your point, they are getting morphed into this whole concept or perspective of what a podcast is, right? And that's why when you ask somebody, um, the number one place that they listen to a podcast on, they say YouTube, right? The proliferation of Joe Rogan and his 2 hour podcasting and all of that stuff kind of set the tone, um, you know, for the whole video format. I know there were people doing it before. I don't nobody out there yell at me. I know there were tons of people way before Joe Rogan. I get it. But he popularized it. And if you agree or disagree, right? I don't agree with with Joe Rogan with on a lot of things, but I do understand the impact that he's actually had, right? Um, he's actually kind of set the market for very very popular podcasts that are now living off of the market that he created. Uh, how many of you guys remember Tiger Woods? Right before Tiger Woods, you know, guys were getting paid okay on the PGA tour, but when Tiger Woods came and he started drawing crowds and crowds and crowds and tons of people, he started raising the purse. He started raising the actual money that companies were actually investing into a golf tournament. He actually helped set a new standard as it relates to golfers and their pay. Damn it, he set a brand new standard around golf courses. How many of you? I'm a massive golf fan. I don't know if you guys probably don't remember this, but how many you remember they would say that they had to tiger proof the golf course, meaning that they had to stretch out the golf course. They would add 30, 40 yards to a hole because of Tiger Woods when he started. I just said that to say is that when you start to um you have somebody that starts to popularize something, first mover advantage, if you will, for old school business, right? He may have not been the first person, but he had the first mover advantage because he popularized it. So there you go. All right, long-winded answer, man. Oh, I don't think I helped you out with that. Any of that. My apologies. The traditional podcast came out of a time when the internet didn't have the capacity to stream videos. The tech wasn't there, right? For it to be anything but audio back then, 100%. But no podcast, but no, or now podcasting has evolved 100%, right? You know, could you imagine being able to have a conversation on MySpace, right? Actually, I'm old, so Friendsters, right? I think Friendsters was before MySpace, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was something even before Friendsters, but you imagine being able to have a conversation with somebody on one of those platforms and interview people like on MySpace. The capacity and it just wasn't there back then. It just wasn't there back then. Now you can do it on all of the social media, platforms. You can have a conversation because the ability to actually do it is there right now. Um, Joe didn't popularize podcasting. He's biggest, and I love the show. He didn't popularize podcasting was 100%, 100%. But the video side of it, I'm talking about. I'm talking more along the video YouTube side of it, right? I This is just me. I when he started posting on YouTube, man, here's the I don't know how many people I mentored and then they became clients. And I would listen to the shows and the show's 2 hours long, right? And the show's about nothing. And I'm like, dude, I just for me, I can sit there for 2 hours and you guys are just talking amongst yourselves about something, and no one knows you. The thing that Joe Rogan had and still has that sets him apart and set him apart back then was that he came with an audience, right? He didn't build, he's built it over time, but Joe's been doing stuff out there in the entertainment world for the longest, right? What was the very first show he had on there? Daredevil something. What was it? I'm dating myself. I know you guys know it. The very first show he had, where he did all those people did all those crazy stunts. This is back in the had to be in the 90s. Had to be in the 90s, right? It wasn't the early 2000s, or maybe it was early 2000s. But Joe came with a super duper uh, fan base already, and there's a lot of people, but he's actually been able to kind of stand the test of time. There are a lot of people, and what this is what we've called the fear factor. Thank you. Thank you so much. Fear factor. Um, that's it. Fear factor. 100%. There you go. Fear factor. There's so many people out there that were afraid also in podcasting. This is the other thing that this is why, once again, everything goes and flows, man, ebbs and flows. Everybody felt that, and still, some people still feel like the celebrity podcasts are damaging to the podcast industry. You know, AI, celebrity podcast, Joe Rogan, all these different things people will start to fixate on. And man, if you stay in your lane and you keep producing and you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, guess what? Over time, you're not gonna have to worry about anybody else, right? You start to carve out and create your own lane. There's so many people out there that are afraid of staying in their lane, right? Remember the movie Hitch, right? He's like, dude, just stay right here. Don't deviate. You stay right here. This is it. And, and guess what he did? He got all outside of his lane, started dancing all crazy. He looked a fool, right? Well, he didn't really look a fool. He was just being himself. But as a podcaster, if you stay in your lane and you remain consistent over time, you start to build up your cachet. You start to build up your authority in your area. AI, Clubhouse, the Joe Rogans of the world, right? Um, they are all there to be utilized to help you move your messaging and your mission and your vision forward. They are not they should not be internalized as the enemy. Here's the and I'm gonna say this is gonna help somebody, it's gonna bless somebody, and I usually charge for saying this. Um gosh, your podcast is yours, right? Your podcast is yours. It's nobody else's, man. It's nobody else's. There is no competition. There is no competition. You are the competition. You can say I'm right. I mean, you can say I'm wrong all day long. I just know that there isn't. I don't care if they got the same topic that you got. The way that you present the topic is completely different. I don't care if they went to the same school that you went to. How you present your content is completely different, right? You have to be able to understand that when you start to think about this podcasting world and what it is that you are trying to do, um, it is about who you are. The entire topic that we talked about today, whether it's around AI, talked about Joe Rogan, all these other pieces, they are nothing but tools to help you to become successful. That's how they should be used. That's how they should be seen. They should not be seen as a threat, right? I know you can't. People can't help it. I know people can't help it. Not sitting here. You know, when like I said to you earlier, when we got the zebras in the um in retail, you know, we got those zebras to check on, you know, files and stuff. One of the first thing I thought was like, man, I'm gonna have to fire some. I'm gonna fire some people. Like this is going to help me with productivity. Right? I am going to be we're going to be the most productive market, right? And guess what? If I'm more productive with this, I don't need a whole bunch of people. But guess what? I still needed the people, right? Still needed the people. So understand that these are tools. Um, and I hope that today you have been able to really have a get a better understanding of what um, AI is and how it could help you from a podcasting standpoint. Quickly go through personalized content generation, top level research, guest ideation, and then four to draft show notes and content. Right. And then before we go to once again, the big news is that we have, of course, started our coaching course and also our our coaching program and also our course. It is called From Concept to Creation: Creating Your First Podcast Season. If you're interested, if you have the idea or desire to leave a legacy, and part of creating a podcast is leaving a legacy. It's leaving information for your kids. It's leaving this information for your grandkids. Um, it's also helping you get your ideas out there to the masses. It helps people. Your information that you want to share with people is something that you need to be focused in on. And so our goal is, once again, is to help you move through the most critical part of creating a podcast, which is episode 7, which is typically where people bail out. We help you create an entire 12 season episode, a 12 episode season, which gets you past that hump and puts you well into your podcasting journey. We're super excited for the clients that we already have. If you're interested in it, we look forward to talking to you. Make sure that you scan the QR code or go to our website, podcasterslive.com, and we can see you there as well. I hope you had a great time today, that you were able to finish up your coffee. My coffee is mad cold, um, and I'm hungry. So, and I know there's a couple other people that are online right now that I want to check out too as well. Plus, I got a lot of stuff to do today. Um, Focusing in on getting several things done this weekend. So, if you got some value out of this, I appreciate you guys. If you look at this on a replay, if you have any lingering or questions or concerns or thoughts, make sure you go ahead and put them in there. We are here to help you out. We're here to provide, be of service. I just saw John Wick the other day, yesterday. So I was just about to say, I have, I will be of service. No, I have served, and I will be of service. I'm a big John Wick fan, so I thought I'd throw that one out there too. That was free for you too. All right, people. Have a great Saturday and the rest of your weekend. Um, I really want you to be blessed, and I really hope that the content and everything that we were able to kind of provide you helps you out. AI, it's not your enemy. It's not your enemy, man. Embrace it because it's here and it's here to stay. And the sooner you embrace it, the better off that you'll be, and the more versed that you will be, and you can go and start rocking and rolling and get her done. All right.